I'd like to call to order the Board of Education meeting for Tuesday, June 6, 2023. Do we have any speakers related to items that will be discussed in closed session? Seeing none, the board will convene to closed session. You know, the board will now convene an open session and report out in closed session. Live streaming on YouTube will begin now. For open session on the Board of Education meetings. The URL for the YouTube live streaming may be found on the NHUSD Board of Education webpage. If you are joining us online via the Zoom webinar and you would like to provide public comment to this meeting, you may do so by utilizing the raise your hand option in Zoom. Or if you're calling in by phone, please press *9 to call the meeting members. May still provide public comments to the board prior to each meeting via email and public comment at nhusd.k12.ca.us. There were no comments provided to the board meeting tonight. Provide a public comment email address. I would like to remind the public that we will not be responding to questions posed by those making public comments. In closed session, the board took no actions. Moving on to, just a second. Okay, we're going to 5.1. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. Ready? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. To the republic into the soul of the roll call, please.
Mallory. May.
Here.
Gonzalez.
Here.
Kumar.
Here.
Ishihara.
Present. Okay, who would like to, okay, may I have a motion second to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Abstentions? Motion carries. Moving on to 5.1, who would like to read the land acknowledgement? Okay, trustee Irvin.
We want to open this meeting by acknowledging with respect and love that the land we are on today is the traditional ancestral homeland of the Ohlone Chochenyo First People. We recognize and thank the Ohlone people as the original stewards of this land. Indigenous people must not be spoken about in past context as if they left on their own accord when the real causes were white supremacy, manifest destiny, and yes, colonization. By recognizing we stand on the occupied indigenous territory of the Ohlone people, we commit ourselves to listen to native leadership and stand in solidarity with people struggling against systems of oppression throughout the world, past and present.
You trustee Irvin. Moving on to 6.1, are there any blue cards for topics that are not on the agenda? We have one. Okay, as a reminder, I will call on everybody one at a time. You will have 2 minutes to speak. Speakers that go over 2 minutes, we ask to complete. Please call the first one.
Pedro, you call the roll.
And now,
Yes.
good evening. My name is Pedro P. Calderon. I live at 1588 H Street, right at the corner of H and Colgate and School Ground. I belong to Battle Watch program that's been working for years, decades, and then for some reason they want to end the program. And then, a program that's been working, safe for the community, safe for the schools. And, my wife and I, so we've been patrolling at zero cost for the school district. We don't get paid, we get to change something, but, in reality, it's $0 to the entire community, to the entire school. And then, we're happy to get services. I said, for our community, please do not end up the program. And then we can sit down and talk, and then, which, you as the authorities, listen to us and, talk to us and communicate with us. That's pretty much basically what it is. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Are there any other reports?
No.
Okay, moving on to 7.1, hearing of visitors on topics on the agenda. Are there any blue cards for the topics on the agenda?
No reports. And do we have anybody on Zoom?
Okay, moving on to 8.1. Do we have anybody to report from CSBA? Okay, seeing none, moving on to 8.2. Do we have a report from the NHT of this?
Good evening, President Jara, EP Kamara from home, trustees, Dr. Thompson, staff, people in the gallery and at home. Joe Cuyanza, president of the Navy Teachers Association. I did want to take this opportunity to kind of report some of our work together that happened throughout this year. But first, I would like to say thank you to Trustee Gonzalez for proposing this item, standing item for both unions to speak the consideration that we've been doing, working together. And I also want to thank the trustee boards to support that notion to allow this kind of conversation. With that in mind, like I mentioned, I just want to highlight some of the things we did this year. Going back, of course, at the beginning of the year, one of the things that we became really fast to our conversation was the mix-up on what it was expected in all our classrooms throughout all levels. Obviously, coming out of the pandemic, we were going back and forth what it means to clean, sanitize, the daily cleaning of the classroom for the different needs at the levels. Obviously, elementary has a big need because we do a lot of work with students on the classroom, sometimes on the floor, that whole gathering that they do on the ground. So there's concern about how that works. And we found out through our conversation that there's some kind of mix up on what people perceive and expect from that kind of conversation. And so we're able to kind of have a meeting with the district and has included Jason, and a big appreciation to him and the staff to kind of find out where the mix up is and the misunderstanding. And as a result, some different expectations and understandings came to each side. And even though those first conversations came out, there's time to clarify and make adjustments. And so there was really a great conversation being to satisfy the need for a service and how the work environment that we work in. The other thing that was greatly appreciated was, after talking about that concern, was the idea of work orders. How do we keep classrooms up kept? What's the missing piece there? And so we found out through our conversation with Jason and Natasha and the staff on MO that there was some things that need to be enhanced or improved. And as a result, throughout the year, we started kind of considering what we can do to meet that need. And as a result, I'm really pleased to say that we're looking forward to an enhanced system that will include a better way for teachers to understand and get updated on concerns they put in for consideration, as well as mirroring what's already been successful with the technology department with Frank Galapagos. These two kind of ideas of getting information for repair or upgrade can now be housed in one kind of conversation through the workforce system. So that was the result really of our collaboration and understanding on talking topics. And moving along with that, we also had continued some of the concerns that they're doing with our different parts of the units. As you know, the adult school committee, adult school is now part of NHCA. And so we have to start finalizing what does that look like, because it's a new entity in this kind of K-12 environment. Because obviously we know The adult school operates in a different realm. And as a result of our conversation, it's very clear that adult school itself needs to understand how we can improve and enhance that program for an attraction for enrollment and that kind of even keel in terms of funding and funding consideration for continuation. So that was a conversation that got cleared up this year. We also were able to, in kind of with collaboration and cooperation, provide an MOU that will include the adult school staff in the upcoming contract salary increase, 4% that comes into play on July 1st. So that all members of the teaching staff are now part of that whole condition of recognition and support of their service. Other conversation we have throughout this year is class size reduction. And I'll say, I want to say thanks to the board for even entertaining that conversation, because as you know, folks like myself, class size has been a long-standing concern, but it's only with this board that we made a move together. And let's talk about class size reduction. What does it mean? What does it look like? What does it entail? And so the conversation then started pressing out those kind of things to the fact that now we can understand what it would look like. And for all of us, in particular the American Teachers Association, to understand what it looks like for class size reduction at elementary, middle school, high school, and then the consideration for, as we know, the cost factor for those conditions. So we look forward to continue that conversation. It has been a very productive, collaborative conversation. To the point that probably the biggest one is thinking about what kind of formula could it look like if we went to the idea of a cap size consideration, which means, as we've seen in other places that use it, what happens if that cap size that cap is not met and it goes over? What would be the look for that kind of conversation and consideration? So those are the conversations that we can get a kind of a sketch of what it would look like, so we can make an informed decision moving forward and what that would look like here in New Haven. So I appreciate that. The other thing that we worked on was, of course, the equity, access, and achievement program. As you know, and myself included, that has been a long-standing conversation here in New Haven. And for us, in many years, we've always said many times that work, as important as it is, has always been worked in silos. It was never, in my mind, in my opinion, never a heavy focus for the district. It was a great thing to do, great thing to say. But what does it mean? And you know, the pilot we did a while back kind of showed what it would look like to do such a project, such an implementation. And this year we enjoyed the fact that there are kind of recognized department with staff to do that kind of work. We look forward next year as that work carries forward, especially with the idea of the equity leader concept that will now groom our own folks inside to carry on this conversation. It's like I said, it's been kind of long-standing decide, but now it really is the focus of the district having its own department for that consideration. Another thing I just want to mention, I know I submitted to all of you the special letter of concern that we submitted to the district, Dr. Thompson, his staff, regarding our want to work together on trying to solve some of the heavy frustrations that we had this year. We want to make sure we can kind of avoid that and start next year, start with a true plan, a true remedy for those kind of things going forward. So again, we look forward to the conversation. I know it's things can't happen overnight, but we really do look forward to working that out and the reception of that letter and the work together on them. And my last piece I want to mention, maybe remiss, is as much as I say what we've done this year, going forward, something to consider. And this statement I'm saying is really dear to my heart as a long-standing member at Logan High School. Well, I have to say it was very shocking to hear what happened last week at the school at Logan High School. The fact that one of our staff members was attacked and assaulted doing his daily work at Logan High School. And I say that because it needs to be said out loud, as much as it was kind of talked as a prank that gone way outside. The fact that I'll say out loud, it was not a prank. To assault a person in that way is something that unfortunately is what we've been seeing throughout the area, throughout the state. But the thing that hits home is now it happened here. It's always, you know, it happened over there. This happened here in Union City, New Haven, at Logan High School. And I think that kind of makes the urgency of what we need to do. And that I say that because that's one of my tasks at Logan High School. Myself and Mr. Polk and others at Logan have noticed that and want to really make a move on that kind of conversation. We think the loss of students' idea of expectations, accountability and responsibility needs to be brought up front and kind of talked about. And we're proposing next week have an idea that started again with the district's understanding of that with our use of Dr. Rios's program a while back, trying to refine it, how we can do it here at Logan to start that whole conversation. And we look forward to some of the things that we developed this year to put in place next year. So I say that again out loud because I think all of us need to know and understand that we all have a vital role in changing the trajectory of that kind of behavior. Unless it's being talked about in a reality sense, people take the perspective of the famous spectator. I never just watch. I just watch it on my TikTok, I watch it here, I watch my own video, but I don't have any responsibility, even though it happened right in front of my eyes. And it reminds me that when I was asked on several occasions throughout the state to speak at the Stop Asian Hate campaign, one of the things I used as my mantra was, see it, say it, change it. And some of those three simple things really made a big impact on some of the folks at those different speaking engagement. As simple as that, it requires you to do something, see something, say something and change it. Everyone has a role. And I think that's the message we want to get back to at Logan High School in my work, intervention services, to have students understand what they need to do along with the folks around them, teachers, communities, parents, that it doesn't happen in isolation. That famous word, learned behavior, it comes from somewhere, whether it's TV, video, or the crazy social media thing, but we have to have kind of an understanding and responsibility to make a move on that. So with that in mind, I just want to say that out loud. That's one of the things I want to say in view of it. It was an incident that should never happen. It did happen, but now it's our task to make sure something we can say that we're trying to do to change up that kind of behavior and understanding from our folks here at home, here in New Haven, here in Union City, here at Logan High School. Thank you.
Thank you, President Angelos. Moving on to 9.1, presentation of the 23-24 LCAP with sections. Assistant Superintendent Scott has done. Will share information on the LCAP.
Good evening, President Ishihara, members of the board, Superintendent Thompson. This evening, I'm here to be able to share information with you about our district's local control accountability, or the LCAP. And our approach for our presentation this evening is really to provide the structure and the content of the LCAP. If there is information that is of interest or references related to the LCAP and how to find it. It is a lengthy document. It was almost 350 pages in total. And so I'm going to try to break it down and give some direction. And so with that, again, the LCAP is really in support of our plan to be able to advance our 5 board adopted goals. And then the link that is on this first slide is a link to our district goals and the action initiatives for each of them. Again, in terms of process and timeline, in June, this is the first meeting in June. And so tonight we're going to be presenting information about the LCAP, and later this evening having a public hearing on the LCAP. And that's in preparation for us to present the LCAP to this board at our second meeting in June for consideration of adoption. So the LCAP process is a legally mandated process defined by Ed Code, and this slide has 3 different aspects to it. The first is we met with the Alameda County Office of Education in order to be able to ensure that our LCAP is reflective of all of the updates in terms of legal requirements for districts. And in May, we met with the county to provide technical assistance to us. And the first link on this slide is the process checklist, which if you have an opportunity to access, you're going to see it as a lengthy spreadsheet with lots of tabs. that basically delineates each of the legal requirements for districts. And so as part of our process, we met with them in May with our initial thinking about the LCAP. They provided some technical assistance, and since then, we're working in collaboration with the business department, teaching and learning in business has updated our draft to ensure legal compliance. So again, the process checklist and the review matrix are the elements that we worked through with Alameda County Office of Education. And the third link to this document is the result of our most recent draft of our 23-24 LCAP, and that is linked as well. So there are several sections, so let's take it apart and we'll go one by one. The first is a budget overview for parents. This section is located on pages 1 through 3 of the LCAP draft, and it provides a budget overview for 23-24, the LCFF budget overview for parents. It includes increased or improved services for high-speed students in the LCAP for the 23-24 school year, and an update on increased or improved services for high-needs students in 22-23. Again, detailed information related to the budget is going to be presented later this evening as well, and also a public hearing is scheduled later in the agenda this evening. Next, the next section is called the plan summary, and the plan summary has 4 different sections. First is general information, second is reflections, third are highlights from the LCAP, and fourth is comprehensive support and improvement, or CSI. So in the plan summary, in the general information, it basically provides demographic information about the district, our schools, our students, and this can be found on pages 4 through 6. The second section deals with reflections, and in the reflection section, there are 2 parts. One is a reflection of the successes of the district, talking about and describing programs and things, aspects of the district that have gone very well according to the California dashboard and to locally defined data. The other section is in the plan summary is identifying need. And identifying need part of the LCAP describes any areas that need significant improvement based on a review of the California dashboard, as well as any other local data, including any areas of low performance and significant performance gap among student groups on the dashboard indicators, and any gaps among students groups and the steps that are planned to be taken to address those areas. And this section can be found on pages 6 through 10. The third part is the LCAP highlights, which basically provides a brief overview of the LCAP, including any features that should be emphasized. Information on the highlights can be found on pages 11 through 13. And the last section of the plan summary is comprehensive school support and improvement, or CSI. This includes information in terms of identifying schools in our district that are eligible for comprehensive support and improvement. It provides a description of the support that is being provided by identified schools, and a description of how the district will monitor and evaluate the plan to support students and their improvement. And the CSI section can be found on page 14 of the LCAP. Engaging educational partners. This part of the LCAP provides a summary of the process that was used in order to engage our educational partners and how this engagement was considered before finalizing the draft of the LCAP. Provides a summary of the feedback provided by specific educational partners, a description of each aspect of the LCAP that were influenced by specific input from partners. And this information can be found on pages 15 through 42 of the LCAP. New Haven this year gathered input from our partners in order to assist in the identification of our priorities for each of the district goals and action initiatives. Input was gathered from the following educational partners: our Punjabi Parent Advisory, our Latino Parent Advisory, our President's Council, the District English Language Learner Advisory Committee, district administrators, the NHUSE Equity Council, our District African American Advisory Committee, site-based equity councils, school site councils, our site-based English Language Learner Advisory Committees, the New Haven Teachers Association, CSEA, or Classified Employees Association as well. In addition, at the bottom of the slide is a link to the results of our annual NHUSD parent, student, and staff surveys. Our surveys were available for our partners to respond from Friday, January 27th until Friday, February 24th. These surveys provided opportunities for all of our partners to share information that assists in the identification of patterns and trends within the district, as well as the identification of the district's priority in advancing our board's 5 adopted goals and action initiatives. This year, in total, we had 5,609 total respondents to the surveys. From parents, there were 2,112, from staff, 388, and from district center staff, 48 respondents. Our students provided us with 3,061 responses. 560 were elementary students, 1,754 were middle school students, and 747 were high school students. And while this is the greatest number of respondents that we've ever gotten from any of our annual surveys, Vision of Teaching and Learning is going to continue to work to engage as many members of the community and our educational partners in providing input and feedback with the district annual surveys so that we make sure that we get as a member of the community voices as possible. All right, next major section of the LCAP deals with our goals and actions. The goals and actions section of the LCAP provide information in terms of a description of each of our goals, an explanation as to why the district developed the goal. It provides the metrics that we use to be able to measure our progress in advancing our goals. And each goal has an analysis section from 22-23, which provides a description of any substantive differences between what we planned for this year and what the actual implementation of those actions were. Provides an explanation of any material difference between budget expenditures and estimated actual expenditures and or planned percentages of improved services and estimated actual percentages of improved services. It provides an explanation of how effective and specific actions were in making progress toward the goal, and a description of any changes that were made to the planned goal or to the metrics or to the desired outcomes or actions from the coming year that resulted from reflections on our prior practice. So our goals and actions, again, for goal number 1, information is on pages 43 through 74. Again, college, career, and life readiness. Goal 2, dealing with equity, access, and achievement. Again, from pages 75 through 120. In dealing with goal number 3, effective employee relations and a collaborative district culture, pages 121 through 137. For goal number 4, again, community outreach, engagement, and advocacy, it's pages 138 and 161. Goal 5, dealing with, again, effective resource management and operational sustainability. It's from pages 162 to 173. And this year, as a result of new legislation, there is a goal 6 that has been added to the LCAP. It's a goal that's been specifically developed to be able to address the needs of our displaced or homeless population, and is a result of new legislation which was passed in the past, which was approved in the past year. And so information on goal 6 can be found on pages 174 to 179. Increased or improved services, the next section, from pages 180 to 222. This section describes the increased services for students who are foster youth, English learners, or low-income students. New Haven's percentage of unduplicated student groups for this year is 51.62%. According to the California dashboard, our district's enrollment is 45.9% low income, about 4,792 students, 0.01% foster youth, of which there were 7, and for our English learners, 19.3%, which is 2,015 students. Information in this section provides unduplicated pupil count or UPP fiscal information. It provides required descriptions about what answers each of the following questions. So for each of these actions, we had to create a narrative description answering these 2 questions. How do the needs of foster youth, English learners, and low-income students be considered first? How are the actions effective in meeting the goals for these students? And how is the action most effective in the use of supplemental funds? So again, this information is found from page 180 to 222. The next section deals with lots of fiscal tables, information about our budget and how it is supported and reflected in the LCAP. So there are lots of different tables to be able to look at. Our 23-24 total expenditure table, again, pages 223 to 271. Our contributing expenditure tables, 272 to 281, annual update, 282 to 320, contributing actions, annual update, 321 and 326, and our LTFF carryover table, which is on page 327. Then the last part of the LCAP deals with instructions that we have to follow in order to create our draft, and that's included on pages 328 through 349. So the next step in this process is for us to consider and to respond to any additional feedback that we receive as part of the public hearing, which is scheduled for later this evening's agenda. And then to be able to have final revisions made in our draft and present for you for consideration for adoption at our next regularly scheduled public board meeting, which is on Tuesday, June 20th. So that's a lot. And I'm here to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions from anybody on the line or Vice President Morrow? Okay. Seeing no questions, thank you very much. Okay, moving on to 9.2, Assistant Superintendent Annette Hellman will provide an overview of the preliminary proposed budget for fiscal year 23-24.
Good evening, Superintendent Thompson, President Nishihira, and members of the board. So similar to the previous item that you just heard, this also is in light of a public hearing in the later part of our agenda. This time it's for the budget for 23-24+2. So this presentation provides an overview of our budget development process and importantly, the assumptions that are utilized in developing that budget that you will be requested to approve at the June 20th board meeting. The full report will be included on June 20th. So what we're doing is actually in statute. So this is the code that tells us what we need to do with regards to the public hearing as part of the budget development process, how we need to do it, when we need to do it by, and all of that good stuff. I'm not going to read it for you, but this is the statute that tells us why we are doing what we need to do and how. So when you adopt the budget for 23-24 plus 2 years, you will be starting a new budget cycle. And these are the different components throughout the budget cycle for the fiscal year. So now let's get right on it with regards to the overview or the process that we deal with. Before I get to that, the budget development process for districts like us starts in January. It gives us a lot of our baseline information when the governor issued his initial proposals in January for the coming year. So a lot of work takes place from the time that budget is released, a lot of analysis leading to what you would be requesting to approve on June 20th. So let's go back to some of the things that are required components of the budget. School agencies are required to develop a 3-year budget, and we actually have to certify those throughout the year. Why do we do that? We can all blame it on what used to be called Richmond Unified School District. They renamed themselves, but the district is now named West Contra Costa, but that was really in the 90s. Richmond Unified became the first district that had to take a state loan, was taken under state receivership. From that event was why AB 1200 was legislated. So moving forward, that has been our reality in terms of the budgets that we develop year to year. When we develop 3-year budgets, what I'm trying to highlight here is the fact that the budget that you will be asked to approve in 2 weeks, we started planning for that 2 years ago, back in 21-22. And of course, a lot of things happens in a quick math, 30-month period. We rely heavily on state revenues and how the economy is doing, and therefore there's going to be a lot of ups and downs by the time we present the proposed budget to you. And this just shows this is how the 3-year cycle happens every year plus 2 out years. So a big factor in budgeting a 3-year budget are the multi-year projections. I always say the budget or the budget is only as good as the assumptions that we use in it, right? We have certain factors that we have to use in projecting our revenues. And then we have some factors that we use in estimating our expenses. We have fixed costs, and then we have things that escalate normally from year to year. So these are the reality of a multi-year projection. They are based on certain economic assumptions. They are based on district level assumptions, our enrollment, our contractual obligations, our attendance yield from our students. And then there are also components where we have certain initiatives or directions from the governing board. So all of those play a role when we put all of these together in building our budgets. Similar to the previous slide, these are those different components when we put together the different elements of our budget. When we look at revenues, we rely heavily on, like I said, we're not a basic aid district. We're not a community funded district. Therefore, we look for what the COLA is. We look at our enrollment and our attendance. What Proposition 98 is going to be funded or at what level. And then of course, when we look at our expenses, again, what is our contractual obligation? What is our classroom staffing allocation? We do include certain assumptions like what would be the savings from attrition? What would be the savings from staffing allocation that we may not need based on the fact that we have been on a decline for the last 10 years at least. So all of those different elements come into play when we are estimating our expenses. So now I would like to pivot to the updated budget figures from the governor as part of this May revision. So there are a lot of items from the governor's budget. What's on slide 10 are the ones that actually have an impact to how we will project our revenues. If you tuned in to the press conference of the governor, you would have heard that the budget deficit or the shortfall that he was estimating back in January now have grown to $31.5 billion. And that has an impact to us because the funding that we receive from the guarantee, Prop 98, is based on how well the economy or how bad the economy is doing. So in this particular slide, a bigger number in the May revision does not necessarily mean a good thing for us because these numbers are mostly deficits or reductions. So using as an example, the state budget deficit, the 98 guarantee, which is also a lower number compared to January. And then there are 2 one-time block grants that the governor proposed that he is now proposing to cut some of it. And those are the arts and music instructional materials discretionary block grant and the learning recovery emergency block grant. So those all have an impact in how we are putting together our revenue projections. In terms of our operating budget, most of that money, this is how we keep our lights on, this is how we keep our doors open. It comes from the formula, which I was thinking about this. This is now the 10-year anniversary of LCFF. I cannot believe it, but it's been 10 years in place. So these are the different revenue buckets, if I may, that comes from LCFF. And these are the funding rates by those different grade levels. So when we take those funding rates based on our actual enrollment or ADA, we would put it in a calculator that we are required to use. And as a summary, this shows us that for 23-24, based on the funding rates, based on the COLA, based on our attendance and enrollment projections, the revenue that would be coming under the formula to New Haven in 23-24 is about $122 million. It is slightly lower than the previous projection, which was used in the January initial proposal, and that's because of an attendance yield that we didn't quite. We were anticipating that we would slowly go back to the 95% that we were used to. It didn't quite get to the level that we thought it would. The drop of 477,000, just to add context to it, is about 0.5% attendance yield. So now let's look at our revenue and expenditure assumptions. I will walk you through the different pages, starting with revenue assumptions. We are using, of course, the COLA, which is slightly higher than January proposed, which is 8.22%. We are projecting an enrollment drop of 260 from the current year that we are in. That gives us 9,968 for 23-24. We are projecting that we would be back to the level of attendance yield that we were, which is 95%, and all of those numbers play a role in projecting what our LCFF revenue would be. Now let's walk through assumptions that impact our expenditure estimates. So when we are staffing our classrooms, these are the class ratios that we use according to contractual obligation. We have site-based allocation in order for our sites to operate on a day-to-day basis during the school year. These are those amounts that we give per pupil from the general fund. We have mandated programs and programs that we support in order to balance. We have to make contribution to them from the general fund. Those are listed on your screen. And then we have some unknowns that are at this point not quantifiable, but by law we have to set aside money for them that take formal action by the board by setting them aside as committed funds. This item would come to you in the form of a board resolution as part of the budget on June 20th. And then there are unknowns or somewhat known and somewhat quantifiable that we can anticipate, and those are what we call the assigned funds. These follow GASB 45, I think, pronouncement in terms of how we categorize our ending fund balances. And then there are other factors in expenses that play a role in terms of those estimates. As an example, the first line there is, after we build the staffing allocation, we actually have 22 FTE above that formula. And those are a combination of different things. For example, from TK through third grade, we have an obligation due to an MOU that we have with our certificated group to staff TK through third at a smaller level than the others. We are projecting, for example, on paper, based on a decline of 260 students, that we would need 8.7 fewer FTE. So these all are factors or assumptions that we use for that. Now, these are not the only moving parts in the budget. There, of course, are a lot of things that we don't list, for example, that we know will happen. For example, our utility bills, our utility costs. We have to pay the staffing that we already have. So these are just things that would change from year to another. And when we're looking at our budget, we, from one reporting period to another, we always want to look at how that ending balance is changing. So when I compare this to the last time, your budget of record right now is the second interim report, which was presented to you in March, and we're talking 22-23. That ending balance is projected to be higher by 2.6 million. Now, when I look at, if you look at the second before the last line of 1.1 million, it says increased other state revenues. That actually is the new, transportation line item. That for all intents and purposes, it's really not unrestricted. However, how the state decided to do this is it's going to flow into our unrestricted resources. So when you think of that, knowing that we need to earmark that for, providing transportation services to the level that we can, our change in ending balance is really about 1.4 million. I just wanted to call that out. Now, with all of those different factors, here's our multi-year projection. So you can see the projected year-ending balance. This is high-level summary, 10,000 foot level. What's money coming in, money going out? What's our ending balance? What we need to designate or set aside for, and what we look like moving forward to the next year, and to the next year, and to the next year. This we usually try to present a separate one for unrestricted, and another one that includes both your restricted and unrestricted. And the difference really is the restricted balance that needs to go to the program that generated that. And I'm talking about the $24 million line item that you see there that says restricted. Those are not the only things that were part of the governor's May revision. Although unlike prior years, there isn't a lot of new programs, which is really good for us because we can focus on the things that we are doing. But there are some provisions for these different things. There are not a lot of details at this point. We expect trailer bills to be coming our way after the state budget is enacted in June. Hopefully it's enacted in June. And of course, given the way that we are funded, there are things that we keep in mind 1 year to the next are these things that are risk to our budget or that could change things for us, that could change the projections that I just presented to you. So the road ahead tonight is a presentation that shows you the assumptions that we are using on the full report that we would be presenting to you on June 20. Not quite 400 pages, but 200 plus pages, including all the state required forms. And then we hope that the legislature would adopt the state budget by their statutory deadline, and the governor enacts it by his statutory deadline. We will be presenting to you, along with the budget, would be the estimated actuals for the current year that we are in. So any significant changes from this point on to then will be incorporated in the final budget that you would be seeing on June 20th. And that concludes my report.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any comments from anybody on the board?
I have a comment / question. Okay. It looks to me like starting 24-25 school year in our 3-year projections that we will not be deficit spending.
And restricted, we are projected to deficit spend 23-24, but not
24-25.
Yes,
Or
at this point in 26.
Correct. And previous to this, we've been deficit spending for how long?
Just about every year. We've been
Just about every year.
Yeah.
So I think that that's a big win for us. I just wanted to point that out. Because I remember every other budget presentation you've done, it's been red across the board.
Caution though, if I may.
I'm just hopeful.
Yeah, and we want to be hopeful. We have received an influx of one-time monies.
Yeah.
And how we're able to do these things is, we're very clever and creative about making use of those first to try to relieve our unrestricted, and that on the natural could happen on those years. At some point in time, those one-time dollars would deplete, and that's the real number that we would be dealing with. Right now, we're still good.
Okay, and then my second question is, in your possible problems cloud, was something about a reversal for opioid?
Yeah,
Opioid overdose. We reversal, that means you've been getting money to help with opioid overdose and now they're going to take it away.
No. This means that he has a proposal to support this initiative. We just don't know what it looks like yet.
Okay, got it. Thank you for clarifying.
Okay. Further comments, questions? Vice President Kumar, good? Okay. All right, thank you very much. Moving on to 10.1, the New Haven Unified School District Board of Trustees will now call to order the public hearing to attend citizen input regarding the 23-24 local control accountability. Are there any speakers?
Have no cards, anybody on Zoom? No speakers.
Okay, seeing no comments, this hearing is now concluded. Okay, moving on to 10.2, the New Haven Unified School District Board of Trustees will now call to order a public hearing to attend citizen input regarding the 23-24 proposed budget for fiscal year 23-24. Are there any speakers or comments?
No blue cards, anybody on Zoom?
Okay, seeing no speakers, this hearing is now concluded. Moving on to 11.1, we'll hear an information item on the discussion of a potential memorial.
I can start off and then, we had a request from a community member to put a plaque up honoring a former custodian who worked for the district at the Dakota Elementary School in the late 60s and early 70s. I think he worked with the district for about 2 years. And apparently at that time, someone had committed to putting a plaque up in the honor. We don't know anything about it, and so we referred the matter to our Facilities, Technology, and Finance Committee for review. And I don't think they have a recommendation. And then you want to touch on that? You can. I think you have a mic right there.
So
I can summarize, I guess. I think the committee reviewed the request, but wanted to have it and trustee Gonzalez, you can also share that too. Perhaps you can share your thinking with you what the board asked is.
yeah, and I think the only thing I wanted to add to what you've already shared, Dr. Thompson, is I did request from the requester, Mr. Fletcher, some information that would demonstrate to us or help us, since no one is aware or remembers this commitment being made. So we've attached those materials in the packet.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, they attended our committee, the family, and so this is Gil Fletcher. He passed away in 1972, and he was attended by his son, and my dad just happened to walk by. And I asked him if he knew this guy, and I think he's the custodian. So anyway, I think it's longer than that. We were going to look into historical references. I think Mr. McNamara is going to talk to Ms. Pava, have a better follow up. Okay, so we're gonna, yeah. But anyway, the family, good standing family. Went to school with the granddaughter. Sons went to school with my family, and they're just asking for a plaque, and they do have a newspaper clipping article. So they're not just making this up there. They actually have some documentation there. So, and we're gonna continue to look into it.
Okay, so then I guess it will come back. Actually, how will this to staff? How will this come to the board? Does the board need to give direction on this, or will staff take care of this independently?
Well, actually, this would require board direction. We don't really have a specific policy for this type of thing. We have a building naming policy. We have a general policy that talks about any changes to the physical structure of the school, murals and things like that. But those have required board approval, and this, I think, falls under that category. But there's no criteria for anything like this. So really, we need direction from the board since it's a board decision.
And as a reminder, that the cost estimate was under 2,000, correct?
I think it was about 1,400.
Okay, with that, then what we can do is, if this is on information item, we can refer this as you already heard back to the committee, we can bring it back. At the next board meeting, if it's the pleasure of the board. I actually, this point right now, if there's any discussions that would help inform that decision, we can have that right now. Does anybody have any questions or concerns about this proposal? Yes. Proceed there.
I'm just curious, why is it so expensive, like just to put a little plaque on it, why? I think it'd be a lot, maybe the cost would get lower, that just a little plaque or.
Yes.
Actually, it's a bronze plaque, and, just to put context to it, that is the invoice that the family is requesting the district to pay. They've already, it appears from the documentation that they've already had it made and are requesting the district to pay for the cost of the invoice. And it's a memorial, larger than that, and it's bronze, sounds like, according to the invoice.
And I think it's a mock-up. I don't think they had it made. I think it's a.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It seems that, because normally a vendor would send an invoice when something is already completed, unless they have arrangements with that vendor. So I might have been mistaken on that, but in the financial world, you don't get an invoice unless something was completed.
Questions? Okay, so then I think what will likely happen now, Vice President Kumar, any questions?
This is unrelated. I am not able to effectively participate because of poor audio. I was wondering if I should drop. We have 4 members present.
We have form, so you can drop if you want, and I believe, yeah, so we have form, and I think we're okay. You need to drop.
Okay, because I cannot hear anything.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so then next step on this will be, since it's already been referred to committee, we're discussing it here at the board. I believe we can bring it back for action at the next board meeting. Under action or consent, we can figure that out. But I just wanted to make sure. So right now, the top end is around, I have no issue here, as it's a great thing. It seems to be within a reasonable amount. So we can bring it back for action at the next board meeting. If it's the pleasure of the board, we can,
Can we move on it now? I mean, just to get a consensus.
well, we can get consensus now because it's been agendized under information. I don't think that we can take action on it yet. Yeah, so we'd have to take action on it as an agendized item.
Yeah,
Are we offering our guidance at this point as board members?
Yeah, correct. Now it's time to have discussion.
Direction, okay. I think if it is true that this is not an invoice, that it is up to us as a district to do our due diligence and to get it priced through our normal vendors or through the contacts that we have, before, authorizing any kind of spend, right? We want to make sure we're being judicious with our money. But in general, I think that we should do this. Obviously, there's an article that shows that this was a promised thing. And I think that this person should be honored in our community, as they are obviously were well loved and respected.
Okay. I have no objections. Okay, so in the direction that you're going to the board right now is to investigate alternative vendors and or prices. And if not, it's possible that the request can come to us for the same amount. But we will do as a district, we will grow due diligence and you'll be prepared to demonstrate that we've done our due diligence in getting a better price. Yeah.
And so I'll agendize it for 6:20.
6:20. Oh, okay. All right, moving on to items from the board and superintendent. Would you like to start?
Hello, yes. I have notes here, okay. So first, I do believe this is our first meeting since all of our seniors graduated and we have officially ended our school year. So I just want to say congratulations to our students and our teachers and our staff on entering the summer season. And I know, you know, some of our administrative staff is obviously still here, and I'm sure you are all looking forward to having some time off upcoming. So I just want to acknowledge that it's summer, it's great. I hope everybody is enjoying that. So another thing I wanted to acknowledge that is it's a historical event that I recently learned about. That's being recognized right now in the Sikh community is it's Wada Purugara, which was a in June of 1984. There was a genocide against Sikhs in Punjab. So this is something that the Sikh community recognizes every year. It was a very dark time in the history, and I would encourage anybody who is interested in being culturally sensitive to look this up. It happened between June 1st and June 10th, although June 4th is typically the day, as I understand, that it is observed. So I want to offer, let's hope it never happens again. Also, it is now Pride Month. I am your non-binary queer school board member, and I really want to raise awareness of what's going on with the LGBTQ community, LGBTQIA plus community nationwide. The Human Rights Commission, well, the HRC, which is a LGBTQ plus advocacy organization that's done a lot of really great work, has declared a state of emergency in our country for LGBTQIA plus individuals, as there have been more than 525 anti-LGBTQ plus bills that have been introduced in 41 states nationwide this year, 2023. Over 76 bills have been signed into law in various states as of June 5th, more than any year on record, and more than double the number than last year. 21 states have bans in place prohibiting transgender girls from playing on the same sports teams as cisgender girls. 20 states have banned gender-affirming care, medical treatment for gender dysphoria. Most of these bans apply to youth, but some include prohibitions on gender-affirming care for adults. 9 states have passed laws that force transgender women to use restrooms alongside cisgender men, and transgender men to use restrooms alongside cisgender women. Meaning they're saying you have to use the restroom that coincides with your sex assigned at birth. So I would really request that our allies out there educate yourselves on what's going on with the LGBTQ plus community. This is an attack on our humanity. It is an attack on who we are as people at our core. And these attacks don't just happen in other states. Unfortunately, there have been recent homophobic comments made at local school board meetings. There have been people who have run for school board who have these same beliefs. So this is not something, even though our state has laws that protect us, those laws can change. And so I think that this Pride Month, if you consider yourself to be an ally of the LGBTQ plus community, please look out and see what is happening nationwide and offer your support if you can. And then I do want to also recognize and offer my sympathies and heartfelt concern to our staff member that was assaulted during the last week of school. It is never okay to assault someone, ever. It doesn't matter for what reason. It doesn't matter if it's because all your friends are doing it, or because you think it's cool, or because it's some harmless senior prank. I think that in the years of COVID, that we have lost our sense of humanity, and that we are really flesh and blood people. And people have started to see people as icons on the screen instead of as real people with real feelings. And I don't have the magic wand to fix it all. But you know, as I've been getting out there and teaching, I have noticed, and as adults, right, we've all seemed to kind of have lost our sense of empathy and kindness for one another. And we think of people as trolls on a keyboard in a comment section, but that's not how real life works. So I'm hoping that everybody can take a step back and realize that when we're talking to one another, we're talking to real human beings with feelings like you and me. And we definitely should not be resorting to violence. It's not harmless fun when someone gets hurt. So I just want to stand in solidarity with that staff member. We really need to come together and have conversations about how to teach our students kindness and empathy all over again, because we seem to have lost that as a society. How do we get it back? How do we make sure our students understand that? Because it is, you know, part of making them ready for college and career and life. So, other than that, that's it.
Thank you, Trustee Schwanelli. Trustee Rebecca.
So thank you. I think it was a good experience this year at the end of all this graduation, and the school year, ending of school year is like a lot of stuff is happening these days. And I'm really sad about that we mentioned about the project was done at the school by the senior primary really heard for, and I read something on Facebook also. It was it's totally not acceptable what's being done. Like those children should be held accountable. And so thank you.
Trustee Rebecca.
All right, for my school district in Hayward, our year will end this Friday. Shout out to the staff, students, parents who made us such a great year, the 2023. It was great going to the graduation. For some of them, this was their best year. I mean, the majority of folks I talked to in New Haven said this is a great year. You know, it's a lot better than last year. And so a lot more positive came out from this year. And of course, we have some incidents like we mentioned earlier. The assault that happened, very embarrassed, very ashamed that happened. You know, my father was at one time a custodian for a school district and too, and we're kind of honor Gil Fletcher, someone who passed away that was a custodian in our district also, and so I just think that really hits home on how close this happened and how much students have gone off track with peer pressure and all the other kind of things that come from that. Anyways, I'm digressing back to special education teachers, special place in my heart for those teachers, and I'm hoping that we get more of an incentive for them financially, and we can push negotiations for financial incentive for them, because there shouldn't be a sub all year long for sped classes. So there should be builds, and it happens with some incentives. Okay. One thing that, you know, being on the board, I get really good gauge as an elementary school teacher. I can see kind of living through it, and, you know, it happens, I take it back to the classroom and I can gauge things and calibrate and get a temperature on things. And so what I noticed this year, a lot of customers, my students, like more and more out on the yard, when I'm doing yard duty, they're cussing a lot more. I know in New Haven, that was one of the things that was mentioned, there's racial slurs that are going on right now. And it only gets worse in middle school, it becomes more normalized, becomes more common, and in high school, again, more normalized, more common, and we just needed to put a stop on it. It happens in elementary. I know tomorrow I'm doing my community circle, and I got a little slide I want to show the students, and we can talk about how it makes us feel, you know, and so those that are staying in the classroom, they can actually see how it makes people uncomfortable. How do you feel when you hear this, a racial slur, you know, it could be any kind of bigotry remark, homophobic slur or something. How does it make you feel? It makes you feel, you know, they're gonna say it makes you feel uncomfortable. It makes me feel uncomfortable. And I'm gonna take President Angela's mantra, which is see it, say it, change it. And we're gonna talk about bystanders and being an ally when someone said this and being a part of it. We're in a world right now where trolls can say these offensive slurs and be protected on social media, and so that's why it spreads. And I'm going to talk about, you know, being embarrassed and being ashamed. You know, it really does hurt the soul. You know, after trying to correct people out on the yard. You know, these are weaponized words meant to hurt someone, and so I would ask the board here as a charge for the district to put some energy behind this. Maybe PBIS assemblies or some classroom instructional material where classroom teachers are talking about this with students, because it really needs to stop here. Unfortunately, we ended in May, and we really the pride flags. Our students were on vacation and really didn't see it other than driving by the school. And I know I had to correct some of my or some students at high school when I don't know, they try to mention the flag or put down for another student there, just joking around. And so those conversations really need to happen. And so again, I would ask that here in New Haven that we put some energy. It should start at elementary. It should start with those assemblies or instructional material that really addresses that and makes us feel comfortable having this conversation. So anyways, I'll end it there, and thank you for hearing me out.
Okay.
All right, a couple things. We had a very good end of the year, and you know, like you pointed out, marred unfortunately by a terrible incident where a group of students did assault one of our custodians, and it was terrible. I do not think that incident is representative of who we are at the district and who our students are, and we stand in support behind our custodian, and we have not given up trying to catch the perpetrators who were involved in that. So that's ongoing. But again, it was a great end of the year. It felt like the most normal end of the year we've had in quite some time. So that felt great. It didn't last long though. We've been busy at work. Starting tomorrow, we have our summer school students coming. We have over 20% of our kids coming back for summer school at Cyril, Pioneer, CTMS, and Logan. Over it's like 2,400 students total. We also have our elementary social justice academy going this summer, which is great. So that's good. We next year we're going to be piloting a math enhancement program, trying to make math comprehension and interest higher through coding and robotics. And we're piloting that program at Hillview Press and CCMS. And today we had our group of teachers from those schools being trained. We're in partnership with UC Davis on that. So that was exciting to go over and watch teachers getting excited about making the coding and making robots work. And so that's going to be fun to see how that plays out next year. All right, let's see, we got that. Thank you, Ms. Hellman, for the budget presentation. I know it's a lot of put that together, and Mr. Bazani, thank you for the LCAP, his last LCAP presentation before retirement. So I know he's not gonna miss the LCAP in retirement. And that is all I have.
Okay, great. Very awesome. I will repeat some of the comments, but I do stand in solidarity with our custodian who was assaulted. I only have one thing that I'm gonna talk about. This was a really, really great commencement. The staff really has, the site administration, counselors, teachers, they all have it down. They all have it down pat, so they get through really quickly. But I did want to call out, I went back on the field after most of the people had left. And my wife, Tina, had mentioned how diligent and fast and efficient Jacob Perez's staff was at the school, breaking down the commencement. And I just wanted to give everybody on the staff a super big shout out for how efficient they run the facilities there. So thank you to everybody involved, most specifically the James Logan facility staff. So thank you. And other than that, I'll keep my comments short. That's it. Okay, moving on to 12.1, report from the Finance, Technology, and Facilities Committee.
Right, okay, so yeah, we talked about the memorial plaque at that meeting. I don't want to step on Ms. Hellman's toes. They're just the May revision state budget, and we talked about the deficit growing, the decrease from 2.2 million, and how the governor's charged to fully fund the COLA. He's very confident, and although he doesn't see the blind spots in the tax extensions, but there's all these signs of indicating the weakening economy. The economy is softening. I have personally looked on Zillow, and I've seen home prices decreasing. So a little, I'm speculating too, also. So, but everything could change in a month or so, or next year. A lot of things can change. We also we came to a recommendation for the AT&T cell tower. We did our due diligence to research and ask those questions. So AT&T is going to do a report on an independent report on and a outreach to the community. Not AT&T, but an independent contractor is going to do a full report on that. But we are recommending that be passed. We also talked about the legalities in the process with the give back to the land, a piece of land to the Bay Area Ohlone Indigenous group, like they did, the city of Oakland did. And we have our next meeting next August, and so we won't approve the budget until June 20th.
Okay. Moving on to 12.2, report out to the Communication and Advocacy Committee. Our last meeting was on May 11th, and we will report out on that meeting at the May 16th regular board meeting. Our next board meeting is June. Okay, moving on to 12.3, report out from the Policy Review Committee.
We rescheduled meeting. I don't remember the date of our next meeting. Gina, do you have that? Rachel? In September, we're meeting in September.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to 4 other committee reports. Does anybody have any?
We have Missionary meeting on the eighth of this month, and then also the South meeting will be on the 13th of this month.
Okay, great. Anybody else? Any other good news? I'm going to report out the joint city and district committee, which happened, meeting was held last night, June 5th at City Hall. The primary topic for conversation was the public transportation options to students who were affected by the closure, by the closure of White Middle School. By the way of context, the state of California has been releasing funds for home to school transportation. And so since the last joint meeting, our two staffs have been working together, and the Department of Transportation head there has worked with our team to develop a couple of proposed maps that could be a couple routes to get our students from the Fairway Park, so basically at the edge of the Hayward border, all the way through the Dakota neighborhood, dropping off at CMS on the way to IVC. We can share those maps as part of the process, but we also discuss funding options and flow of funds. And it looks like we are actually on a fast track. We're going to be moving pretty quickly because the city council needs to approve the new routes by the July meeting. So the staff, our staff will be sending out a survey to get feedback on our proposed maps. But we'll be moving pretty quickly so that the city council can approve the new routes by the week of July 4th. And as part of that process, we are committing to continue to iterate to improve maps to serve as many students as we possibly can. And so that is, we talked about, that was our primary point of conversation. We also talked about a couple of other things. Dr. Thompson talked about ways that we can, that the city and the district can collaborate on using our communication channels, and I think that was really well received. I did want to tell the board that the city has offered to offer the school board tabling options at National Night Out on August 1st. And so I just want to let the board know that that's going to be an option for us to be able to meet our families and community. We also shared with the city staff the date for our next New Haven Day. They had commented that they really enjoyed the first one, so they were interested in another date for the next one. Our next meeting is going to be on the 18th. I have a long month here. It'll be 3 months. August 18th, I think so. Yeah, August 18th. And that concludes my committee report for the joint city school district. Okay, moving on to 13.1. We have a motion and a second to approve Superintendent Thompson's travel to Philadelphia to attend the Institute for Education Leadership 2023 National Community School and Family Engagement Conference.
So moved.
Discussion. Second. Sorry, apologies. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed say nay. Abstentions. Motion carries. Okay, moving on to 13.2. May I get a motion and a second to approve resolution number 054-2223, resolution authorizing the use of California multiple award schedule, CMAS contract number 3-23-02-10. To purchase between management system for 2324 pursuant to public contract code section 20118.
So moved.
Second. Discussion. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Abstentions. Okay, motion carries. Moving on to 13.3, I get a motion and a second to approve an agreement with Schiller Las Positas Community College District for a transitional kindergarten early childhood development program. 23-24.
So moved.
Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Abstentions. Motion carries. Moving on to 13.4, may I get a motion and a second to adopt the new AP environmental construction materials?
So moved.
Second. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Abstentions? Motion carries. 13.5, may I get a motion and second to approve the adoption of the experience chemistry in earth science and MGSS instructional materials for 9 to 12 grade students.
So moved.
Second. Discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Abstention. Motion carries. Okay, 13.6, make a motion and second to approve the adoption of experience biology, living earth, and GSS digital instructional materials for students grade 9 through 12.
So moved.
Second. Discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Abstentions. Motion carries. And 13.7, may I get a motion and a second to approve the agreement with Vector Solutions for employee scenario running on years 23, 24.
So moved.
Second. Discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Abstention. Motion carries. Moving on to 14. Are there any items from consent that any board member would like to pull for separate vote? Okay, with that, may I have a motion and second to approve consent agenda items 14.1 through 14.21.
I like the 18. Am I on the wrong one?
Sorry, I stand corrected. May I have a motion and a second to approve consent agenda items 14.1 to 14.18.
So moved.
Second. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Abstentions. Motion carries. Okay, skipping item 15 because no items were pulled from consent. 16.1 governance. Yes.
I think that it's a very well-run, meeting by President Shira.
Thank you.
But I do want to point out that trustee Kumar was not able to, participate remotely. And, even though we followed all the procedures for her to be able to do so. And so I would, ask that, and maybe this goes under request of staff, but I would ask that the staff do some more troubleshooting and testing of our video conferencing so that this doesn't happen again.
Thank you. Okay. Any other comments for governance review? All right, moving on to 17.1 board consensus. Does the board have any items for staff?
Just what I just said.
Okay. Do you have any questions on it?
No, we're trying to figure out, I'm not sure if the problem was on her end or our end, so we'll have to figure that out.
I'm pretty sure it was on our end because the same thing happens when you try to review the light video. The sound is pretty normal, so. All right. Okay, yes, just so you know.
How about the charge I mentioned about Winston Energy, with these racial slurs, at the elementary level? I don't know, PBIS assemblies or some instructional material, can there be some kind of interview by staff to address that? Other than, I know there's one elementary district, but district wide, how they going?
It's already a topic on the list for our EAA department, Equidex, which is the department for next year. I know that's something we did work with E3A on, and they made some recommendations to us as well. So I know that that will be a focus in the upcoming school year.
Okay. I do have something. Title of the request is Washington Healthcare survey information. As an input into our next strategic plan. I think we're in the position now where we're starting to gain some input that would help shape the plan. In speaking with some folks in the community, it turns out that that Washington Healthcare has done a health survey for folks that live within our neighborhood or within our city. I would like for staff to arrange Angus Cochran from Washington Healthcare Foundation to come and present to this meeting. to outline, issues and concerns and observations about, the health of, folks that are living in our community. In terms of, expected staff outcome, I'd like the staff to work, to get that scheduled for an upcoming meeting. As far as, the timeline, sometime during the formation of our strategic plan as an input. So what I see now is general board approval and consensus for staff to take on this work. Yes, okay. Any questions?
Nope, we'll definitely do that.
Okay, perfect. All right, seeing no further business, this meeting is adjourned.